The wheel has me doing my favorite burger, which is a patty melt. I don't know why I like them so much better than a regular burger. Believe me, I love burgers. That's like my fantasy food. But the patty melt just sends me over the top. So I'm gonna make it vegetarian, vegan even. Now, the first thing, I used to get my patty melt without onion. So if some of you think it was the onion that made me like the patty melt, I got them without. But later in my life, I realized I don't like raw onions, but I do like them cooked. Now, you can do caramelized onions over time, like 30 minutes, an hour. You can also do them in the oven or in a skillet, but you can also do them fairly quickly in like 15 minutes if you do it over a higher heat. So I'm going to try that technique today. So I've got a very hot pan here, and I'm going to put the onions in. And we're going to get these cooking. I'm going to put some salt in here as well to help draw out the water, and that will help the onions cook in their own liquid. It's almost like onion confit. Now, the big secret, you always want to have a kind of rye bread. This is Pepperidge Farm, which is actually a little smaller. My normal rye bread is a little bit bigger than this. And so you want the patty to be bigger than this because it's going to shrink. Now, with Impossible meat, it doesn't shrink as much, so it may not be as big a problem. But when you're doing a beef burger, you want to make it bigger than the bread. So when it shrinks down, you have meat from edge to edge. So I'm keeping this out here so I can kind of eyeball that. And I'm going to go ahead and take these two patties. I usually don't buy the patties. I usually buy the 12-ounce block. But this way I won't have anything to have to use up. And the other way I'd have 4 ounces of meat that I would have to put in the freezer. And I figured why not? Let's just go with these preformed patties because they're the exact right amount. 2 4-ounce patties. So, cool, right? I'm going to mush these together, however. And here's the other thing. I've always had trouble getting the patty to be the right size when I only use 4 ounces per serving. And I finally realized I'll just make one patty melt, cut it in half, and eat only half. And now it'll be big enough. There's my patty, which I mushed the two together. And as you can see, it's just a little bit bigger than my bread. So if it doesn't shrink, I'll just have extra meat on the edges. Who can complain about that? In the meantime, onions are coming along beautifully. You can see they've caramelized. Now, if they start to burn on you, just put a little water in there, and that'll actually help them cook anyway. But now that I'm almost done, I'm going to deglaze it. And I would like to deglaze it with brandy. Yes, and I'm all out of brandy, so I'm going to have to use a little sherry instead. So I can smell that delicious sweet cherry. Now I'm going to hit it with this 18-year balsamic. And that'll be the last little hint of flavor. And those are ready for the burger. Can you believe how much that this all, reduced? So that was one whole onion, and now it's just like a little tiny pile. And yes, I tried these, and oh my goodness. How did I not used to like onions? It's time to put my Impossible meat into the skillet. And notice I put it on 1/2 the skillet so that I can flip it to that other hot spot over there, and it'll stay nice and hot. Also notice I didn't put any oil in the pan. Instead, I like to salt and pepper the meat itself. And then get some pepper on there. And finally, I actually put the oil directly on the meat, or the fake meat. And I find that causes fewer flare-ups. Because there's no oxygen. Without oxygen, you can't have fire. All right. It's been about 2 minutes, so it's time to flip this little bad boy. And as I said, I'm going to flip it over to this side of the pan. Oh, look at the color on that. That's fabulous. 2 more minutes. By the way, that did not shrink at all, so definitely not like beef in that regard. I'm going to go ahead and put some cheese on here now. This is Follow Your Heart provolone. I just tasted it for the first time. I find it tastes a lot more like a white American than a provolone, but I like American cheese the best, so no losing there. Okay, that's 2 minutes on each side. Now I'm going to take some rye bread that I buttered, put it right here, and I'm going to take these onions and put them right on top of the bun. Yeah. Look at that. Looks like I have a little bit of onion left over that I can use for something else. I'll use up meal. And then I'm going to take this burger and put it right on top of these onions. It's so much bigger than the bun. Again, if that were beef, it would have shrunk down. And then I will top it with this other bun. Okay, I think it's time to flip it. See how it did. Oh, a little darker than I like, but not bad. I'll do the other side just a little bit less time. There she is, my vegetarian, vegan even, patty melt. I'm gonna go ahead and get another plate here, and I'm gonna only eat half of this monster. I'm very excited about this idea. I can finally make a real full-size patty melt, and not have to spread the meat too thin. So a little bit of broccoli cuts, and then I will take my Impossible Burger and put it there. So there we have it. Vegan patty melt. You can see the caramelized onions down there, the cheese up there, the broccoli there. Let's find out what I made. Look, I mean, come on. Tell me you don't want that. Hot dog. I could serve this to a meat lover and they would not know that this is impossible. And the onions are so good. Don't forget I made my little homemade ranch as well. That's a bite I like. Oh, the meat is so juicy. And the cheese melted fine. I didn't know if it would melt well. The onions are just so rich with that little bit of balsamic vinegar. And they're so sweet. Oh, I could serve this to anybody and I think they would die. So look at that. Vegan patty melt. Knock yourselves out.